Hey everyone. I just wanted to talk to you folks today about like the process that I went through to make my Rube Goldberg machine. As you get started with this, it's really critical that you kind of start at the end and work your way towards the beginning again. It's also important not to get overwhelmed. Um, I made this up as I went. I was just looking for things around my house and around my shop that I could utilize to make this work. You could do your project on a much smaller scale than mine. You know, you could do this on a tabletop pretty easily. If you look at the board game Mousetrap, that's a Rube Goldberg machine as well, you know, at a much smaller scale. So don't like worry about the scale that I did mine at. I did mine at this big scale to hopefully make it more exciting for you guys, but it's not necessary. So again, we're going to start backwards. So the first thing that I started with is, okay, my concept, right? You've already generated that. My concept was I wanted to fry an egg. And my concept was also like right from the get go, I knew that I wanted the egg to kind of drop into the pan and smash, and they needed to figure out what to do with that. So first of all, I start off with like this little hot plate thing that I have around my house and my pan, and I just kind of got that set up. Then I was thinking about, okay, how am I going to control to drop the egg? So as I was looking around, I found this pipe. And I'm like, okay, I could prop that up and I could have the egg fall out of the pipe and into the pan. So realistically, something like this is actually what I'm hoping that you have already come up with last Friday. But from there, I'm like, okay, so I need to hold the egg somehow. So I drilled a hole into the side of this. And again, you don't have to use a drill. You can, use whatever materials you have hanging around your house. But I drilled a hole and then decided that I was going to put a nail in it, which is out of focus in this picture. But I have a nail here. Then realized that nail was too, oh, there's a better picture. Then realized that that nail was kind of like too short, so I ended up using a bigger nail later on. But you can see how the nail sits inside the pipe, and I'm like, okay, the egg could sit into here. Then I'm like thinking to myself, okay, I need something to be able to pull the pin out, the nail. So I found this bucket of mortar, but I mean, it could just be any weight, right? I came up with some sort of a weight that I could attach a string to the nail, and the other end of that string would attach to the bucket itself. This thing here. And as this block gets knocked out, the bucket falls down and pulls on the string, which releases my egg. So from there, I needed to start thinking about what I was going to use to knock the block over. And I have a bowling ball, so I'm like, all right, maybe I can use the bowling ball to roll down into it. So I pulled out some like lawn rakes to create a slope and I like propped them up on another board. But I couldn't figure out how to like leave this thing here. I knew I kind of wanted to start my process with dominoes. So it's like, well, how do I make dominoes push a bowling ball? I couldn't really figure out how to do that for the longest time. So again, I just started looking around for like what I have at my house and what I could do maybe. And I found this skewer shish kebab thing. I was able to prop this on my like these rivets in here. And again, I was just using what I had available to me and trying to come up with like an example of how we can make this thing move, right? So when the domino hits that, it causes the ball to come down. And I realized through like quite a few practices with that, like what it would take to actually make that thing work. I started making it so that the trigger required less force by like adjusting the position of the rakes and just messing around with lots of different things. I probably had to mess with this process about 10 times before I was able to actually make it work properly. Then I started trying to make the dominoes push the thing over, and just trying to get to like, you can see here in this example, I tried to push it over with dominoes, and that was like my first attempt, but then it caused it to come off of my ramp. So then maybe this next one here, I tried to release it and you can see that the dominoes didn't release the trigger. So again, I had to keep moving forward. And then I think at this point, this is my final video. So again, when you go to submit your videos this week, your video submission should look something like this. You're going to, let's find where we start this thing from. You're going to explain, oh, actually, I think I went the backwards way with this one. So this is the video submission here. When you go to submit this, this is what's gonna be seen. You're going to show me each individual step. And you're going to explain the steps. Again, you're not allowed to be in these videos, okay? So you're going to explain the steps, how, in my case, the dominoes trigger the trigger. From the trigger, it pushes the bowling ball. The bowling ball then runs down this ramp. It then hits the block. The block then causes the bucket to fall. The string attached to the bucket then causes it to be pulled out from the hole in the pipe. When the pin gets pulled out of the hole in the pipe, it causes my egg to be released. And then as my egg is released, it falls into the hot frying pan. And then my wife helped me trigger this whole thing. You could have somebody help you trigger it, or you could trigger it yourself. Again, nobody's face should be in the video. Notice how just her arm's in the video. And then follow with the camera as best as possible. You can see I kind of like lost that last little bit there, but follow your process as best as possible from beginning to ends and show your machine working. Again, in here you should explain the name of your machine, the processes that you took, and show the machine working. That's what you're going to share with me. Okay? So once again, and the important thing with this video is start backwards. And realistically speaking, I'm expecting each of you to spend like an hour to an hour and a half on this. So work for about that time, get as much done as you can, and then videotape it. Okay? This is something that if you want to spend more time on it, you're more than welcome to, but you're not required to. Okay, again, at a minimum here, you need to have 3 steps. So in my case, 3 steps would be knock this bucket over. That's step 1. That would pull the pin. That's step 2, and that's my intermediate step. Pulling that pin would then cause the egg to fall out and hit the pan. That's step 3. Okay, so the bowling ball, the trigger, the dominoes, none of that is necessary to meet the minimums for this project. That was just done as extra to make it cooler. Okay, and being the fact that I'm going to post this on YouTube, the more extreme these can be, like, the cooler they're going to be to watch, but it's not necessary. Okay, if you have any questions, you can email me. Do your very best here, okay? And again, remember to have fun. This is more about having a good time and just using some creativity to be able to highlight a fun little activity. This activity is really designed to highlight your creativity, okay? So work on that, ladies and gentlemen, and then enjoy it, okay? Again, if you have any questions, email me, and I'll be happy to answer them. Good luck. Bye-bye.